shit. I don't know shit.
Coley here. I'm going to solve America's debt problem while I make eggs. So we have a $30 trillion national debt. And there's a big talk in this country about, what's socialism, what's communism, what's capitalism, what are we? And I'm none of those things. I don't believe in labels. I think there's a little bit of benefits to capitalism, there's a little bit of benefits to socialism, there's a little bit of benefits to communism. There's systems, they're flawed, they're aired, and you take the best game and the best part of each. So what I would say to people who say socialism is evil, well, currently we have socialized national debt. Okay, so America and our taxpayers and our people, we have nationalized debt. So it's socialism, but it's just for our debt. We are all participating and have to pay taxes for this debt that we all co-own. So we get to co-own the debt, but we don't get to co-own the wealth? What the fuck is that? And then there's a bank bailout. And so then they go and give the bank money to save them. That's socialized corporations. But then the people need help, and everybody's like, nah, it's socialism. It's just not right. So I suggest we build an American wealth fund. If we can have nationalized debt, then we can have some nationalized assets. And let's use the assets to spit out the dividends and the annual income required to cover certain social services and programs. That way we're not building national debt, we're building national wealth. And we're taking care of our people without losing a buck. So here's a very simple example, and all this is up for debate and discussion and perfection. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm making some eggs. We have a national wealth fund, and the first assets we're going to put in there is 40 million affordable homes, right? Rents are going through the roof, inflation's through the roof. People can't afford rent. They're living in the streets, and it's because of inflation. The Fed's been printing money. The corporations are extorting it out the top. They're not paying their fair share of taxes. So because there's all this fake money going out, inflation is rising the cost of real goods and real housing to the point that the people are hurt and they're starving and they're having a tough time. So we need to make that easier for them, because you can't have corporate socialism without a little people socialism, okay? So the American Wealth Fund is gonna buy some land and build 40 million affordable home units. And the American Wealth Fund will own it. So that the value of those properties and land will go up in value, and American taxpayers won't lose a buck, will make some money, right? And it's only 10% of the total housing, there's about 400 million people, whatever it is. So it's just 10% nationalized housing. And now, instead of having to pay these exorbitant rents, let's say it's $1,000. Let's make the math easy. You get sustainable housing, affordable housing for $1,000 a month. Okay? So now you can actually afford your rent. You go get the national units, and the private companies can still compete and do whatever they want. Landlords can do whatever they want. It's America. We love capitalism. You do whatever you want. But we got this little competitive fund here, and so people are paying $1,000 a month. So now you got 40 million people with affordable housing, only paying $1,000 a month. And instead of the national government giving housing subsidies that just go to private companies with the profits, which is still paying, and welfare costs and all these things that pure capitalists don't like, is instead of going into the government debt, the nationalized debt, it's going into the National Wealth Fund. So when those 40 million people are paying $1,000 a month, it's going back into the American Wealth Fund. So now you got these assets that are worth something and growing in value, and you also have 40 million times 1,000 a month. That's about 40 billion a month. Times 12 months is about 480 billion per year in income. Let's round up and make the math easy, about 500 billion in income. So now, instead of paying $500 billion a year in interest payments on the national debt, okay, when you have nationalized debt, about $500 billion a year is the interest payment on that, to foreign countries, to this, to that, to all those things. So now, if we're gonna have national debt, we also have national assets. So in American Wealth Fund, we got $2 trillion worth of affordable housing, and it makes $500 billion a year. It makes the American taxpayer $500 billion a year. So you could use that $500 billion a year to pay for social services. So instead of adding to the national debt and us losing money and everyone's angry at socialism's bad, we can't just pay for people. It's our own wealth paying for it, like a machine, right? There's certain assets and there's certain businesses that should be for the good of the people. I'm not saying everything. I'm saying like 10% certain things, right? Look, you want to go start a business, you want to go do capitalism. I love private rights. I worked on Wall Street. I love capitalism. You know, you get to compete, do whatever you want to do. But there's certain things. Okay, what about space rights? Who owns space rights? Okay, what about we go start mining the moon? Who owns that? Okay, let's say we go start mining asteroids for minerals and essential minerals that fund climate change and technology. Who owns that? What about we go dig 1,000 feet in the ground, we find lithium that we get to use for batteries and EV cars. Who owns that? Okay, so the American government goes, okay, we'll sell these off, and then some rich fucker takes it, buys 7 yachts with it, and everybody else starts. Nah, fuck that. Pop that shit in the National Wealth Fund. Put it in the National Wealth Fund. That's America's. That's America's wealth fund. America gets to keep its wealth. The taxpayer gets to keep its wealth. And guess what? It's all of us. There's nobody getting benefited or biased or anything. We all own it equally, right? And it makes us money instead of making us debt payments, right? Another thing I might put in there, national defense, IP, and technology. I don't think people should be incentivized to profit off of war and weaponry. That's a national security issue. So why are we just letting all these private companies make all this money off of missiles and airplanes and all this stuff like that? It's like, I don't know. I think America should own that shit. That's our national fucking stuff. That's really sensitive shit. I don't know. I think bring it out. And then maybe even some form of healthcare, or 10% of the healthcare business, or maybe a public option with health insurance. Not full national healthcare. That would be full communism. I believe in Obamacare and the subsidy system and multiple options and private competitiveness of capitalism. I love that part of capitalism. But give them a public option. And when you pay for it and you get it sustainable, we make money from it in our government. So the government is a competitor to private business, and it keeps everybody up. And so the next time a bank needs to get bailed out, well, they come to the U.S. government and they go, we fucked up. We took all our bonuses and we invested poorly and we failed at capitalism. So we need you to give us socialism. That's what happens, right? And they go, we gotta save the banks. We gotta save the banks, so we give the banks some money, and that's socialism for the banks. And then people need it, and everybody's like, that's socialism, it's evil. But the banks are asking for socialism. They're like, we fucked up. Well, when I fuck up and I can't pay my bills, nobody helps me. So let's use some capitalism. Bank comes to government, goes, I failed at capitalism. And the government, instead of giving the same idiots the money, buys them for cheap, throws it in the American Wealth Fund. Now we own that bank. And look, a couple of years later, after we get in tip-top shape and it doesn't affect the economy and cause a recession, we can maybe sell it back to a private guy, make a little bucks on it, put it back in the American Wealth Fund, which is owned by us, Americans. And then the income that generates from all these assets and all these businesses that the American government uses when private business comes to them and goes, oh, let me get a little socialism. Well, it's like if you're playing socialism, then fucking America should be good at business. I mean, if America is the capitalist country, America should be great at business. Why do we have so much debt and so little assets? Let's have an American Wealth Fund. And when you say, but American bureaucrats can't, government bureaucrats can't run they're not as competitive as private business. They just don't do it as good. You don't get the best people. And this is where I would like to inspire great Americans. Okay, Jamie Dimon, or whatever, JP Morgan, CEO, really smart man, always gets involved when the banks have issues and needs to help the country, all right? You got a couple $billion, couple yachts, you're killing it, right? You won capitalism, all right? When's enough? Leave that to the side and come be the CEO of the American Wealth Fund for a couple years. Just like the president, be the CEO of the American Wealth Fund a couple years and help your country. Do it for your country. Do it for patriotism. Do it for us. You can see, because of wealth inequality, the people are starving. They're rioting in the streets. People are getting sick. There's all sorts of political discord. America needs you. America needs you. So step up, do what you do best, and keep on being a capitalist. Make a ton of money for America, right? And then say there's a lithium deposit we find, and we put in there. Let's go get the best private guy who's great at lithium mining, and go, dude, serve your country for 4 years and help run America's lithium mine. Right? Look, I'm an entertainer. I would love to make a bunch of money for myself, of course, like anybody does. But I'm deciding to do it for America because America needs it. And to the people, if there's an American Wealth Fund and you start to feel a little fairer in this whole thing, I also inspire you to do service for your country. I think we need American service requirements, not a draft for the military. I'm saying 1 year, everybody does service for our country of any kind. It could be an engineer helping design levees for future climate change issues. You could be out there planting trees. You could be doing social work for people who need it. If you want to be a psychologist, you could go give mental health services to people in the cities who need it. Blah, 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 blah. Serve your country for 1 year. Let's have a collective cause of helping and healing America. And then go get to the money. But when you're ready to go give back a little, come back, hop into the American system, build the American wealth fund, build the American people. We all win. And we probably won't have any debt, but I forgot to make the eggs.
I don't know shit. Right now 76, thinking. I don't know shit.